Kia ora koutou. Ko Anna Pierard, and I'm going to ask you all to be on your feet. So mean already. We're going to do something, and I think it's worth leading with the reality that singing together can be incredible. Don't worry, I'll do it first, and then you can repeat back with me. But singing together can be an incredibly potent tool. It can be a tool for soothing us, it can be a tool for connecting us, and critically in our organisation, it's a tool for empowerment. So I'm going to give you just a little sense of what I'm going to need you to do. See if you can guess just by watching. My bonny lies over the oceans. My bonny lies over the sea. My bonny lies over the ocean. Oh, bring back my bonny to me. Bring back, oh, bring my bonny to me, Bring back, oh, bring back my bonny to me. Belting. Do you know what? I hope you're all as congratulatory to yourselves when you do that. So that was a little belting, which we're trained as opera singers not to undertake because it's a little bit tiring on the voice. And after I've spoken to you, I might show you how I'm supposed to do it with a little song. But before that, you're going to sing for me because I think that's fair. Okay? So I think we're going to put it down a little bit for everybody in the room. Bring my bonny lies. We happy with that? Let's hear that beautiful sixth. My bonny lies. Oh, honey, my work is done. Okay, that's your rehearsal. Okay, so we're all going to breathe in for 4, and we're going to hold our breath for 4, breathing together even, okay? Let all the old air out the body. We don't want that. Now we're breathing in for 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Ready? My bonny lies over the ocean. My bonny lies over the sea. My bonny lies over the ocean. Oh, bring back my bonny to me. See, it's hard. Bring back, oh, bring back my bonny to me, Bring back, oh, bring back my bonny to me. Yes, you may. Sit down. Well done. Who's broken a sweat? I certainly have. Now then you'll know my terrible secret that my hair's actually curly. So, singing together. It's amazing how we can do it not just sort of at the same time, but also you weren't really thinking about it, were you? Hopefully for the most part. You weren't really thinking about it because I was asking you to do different things. Some of you might have known that little game and some of you might not have, but I'll come back to it later in the presentation because I think it's really important kind of it's really an important kind of detail that you were distracting yourselves and not sort of being analytical about how you sounded and listening with your inner ear. So yes, we started a little program in 2013. Founded it with actually my best friend. My husband sort of provides the content for the course, Jose Aparicio, but my best friend is Sarah Walmsley. I hope we've all got someone amazing like that in our lives. I always reference her at these sorts of events because she's got a day job, and so she works incredibly hard to guide our organisation fitting it in with all her other responsibilities. So I just need to acknowledge that. So in 2013, we got together and thought, let's open a cafe. And so here it is. We quickly realised that actually both of us had had a special experience in our lives which had helped us to understand that music is a powerful tool, especially singing together. The experience that we had was performing on the stage at Llangollen in this big festival in Wales and winning Choir of the World in 1999. Does great things for the ego. So National Youth Choir competed against choirs from all over the world, and we won that top gong, the top cup. I never saw the trophy because it's actually not about the trophy, it's about the mahi. Anyway, so we'd had this experience and we'd gone our separate ways. So Sarah had taken a really sort of high performance career path as a strategist and working in the healthcare sector. But we'd both sort of kept very connected and both loved singing together when we came together. And so this conversation about how to be together and create something quickly morphed into how to sing together, how to recreate that special experience that we'd both had and make it accessible for the community that essentially I was living in. So I just migrated to New Zealand, immigrated with my husband and little baby, and we just kind of thought, but after the event, we just thought, what we need to do is make our experiences and this opportunity to sing together more readily available. And then we thought, okay, why don't we start an opera company? An obvious progression from that realisation. Of course, opera, sort of greater than some of its parts. It's sort of all of those art forms collected into one happy, enormously expensive experience for the audience. You've got your specialist lighting design and the set build and the orchestra and the pit and the trained singers on stage, and then you've got the choreography and all of those separate elements, all of those layers of artistic design coming together, greater than the sum of its parts and enormously expensive, which we found in the first year. But we decided alongside the creation of that organisation, Festival Opera, to establish a youth program, which we called Project Prima Volta. And we really just wanted to build access to this kind of learning. As Nadine said, I grew up in a family where we just sort of, I was going to say we did what we were told, but that's wrong. It was our normal to sing around the piano, and it was our normal. And we didn't realise what a gift we were being given at the time. It's hard to know whether it's become a rod, but the reality is that we had this enormous privilege. Okay, so where was I? We started the opera company and the youth project alongside, and what we weren't prepared for was the kind of impact of saying to teenagers, 30 teenagers, we reckon you can sing in the chorus of an opera. And then, of course, none of them have ever had that experience. So they sort of doubt themselves, but they're all, that's their common ground, is feeling vulnerable and doubting themselves. And then they take those steps together. Doesn't matter what car you drive up in, doesn't matter whether or not your parent is battling an addiction, doesn't matter whether or not you've done a little bit of singing already, because this is in another language, and you'll have to learn how to project your voice over an orchestra, because it's not mic'd. It's not mic'd. And you have to learn all of these key skills, and you're doing it all starting from the same starting block. And that's really key with what we do. So what we sort of wanted to do was just make it available. What we weren't prepared for was the impacts. We weren't prepared for this. I finally feel like I have something to offer. I didn't know I was capable of anything, let alone this. I never would have imagined myself being capable of achieving that. So we didn't expect feedback from that cohort that talked about a transformation in their own thinking about what they themselves were capable of. And actually what we were doing was saying, can you do the impossible, please? You've not seen anybody else doing it. There's no one in your family doing it. The head prefect 2 years ago isn't off studying it, but we think you can do it. Because, of course, by asking someone to do it, you're telling them that you believe that they can achieve it. Otherwise, that would be mean otherwise. So a few years on, and the program looks a little bit different. It started out as just being a chunk of time in the lead into the opera performances during the Art Deco Festival. And 6 years on, it's become a project where the kids meet weekly. So they meet weekly for rehearsals and have events all throughout the year. Performances in the Hawke's Bay Arts Festival, we perform at different schools. And all of the experiences build this sense of not just confidence, but that incredible empowering sensation, self-reliance. Because, I mean, imagine this, if you will. Imagine you're on stage and a bloody tree falls down. You know, you're on stage. How do you manage that shock? How do you keep the audience drawn in and focused on what you're doing when the scene is collapsing? And so by putting these kids to the test constantly, an external, outside of the classroom kind of test, where they don't realise they're being tested and they don't realise that they're passing, we give them the opportunity to have this new understanding about themselves. I didn't know I was capable of that. I wouldn't have imagined myself capable of achieving that. So we all know that, you know, our potential depends very much on what we think about our potential. And so we thought we were onto something pretty special. So we thought that was pretty cool. But major question and a major issue. So I was really happy, Mark, to hear your comment about an arts degree providing a really good basis for understanding, you know, from a philosophical point of view, from a sort of, you know, learning how to sell an idea to people, sales. Isn't success all about sales? But does the world really need more opera singers? Because that's quite specific. And I would say yes. No. Our mission has never been about churning out opera singers. This is not a factory line. It's about providing that very distracting, all-engaging context for young people to understand what they're capable of alongside that. And we have that argument thrown at us all the time. So our biggest challenge as an organisation, because we've got this amazing platform for demonstrating the success of our model, but our biggest challenge is much more broad than that. It is convincing people that music education has value. Music education in the classroom. Music education, you know, in the weeks after birth. And funny story, actually. Funny story. My daughter was a little bit unsettled. She was new. I was living with my mother-in-law. She was probably being affected by that also. Spanish mother-in-law. Yeah. Anyway, and I'd been singing right up until she was born, and for some reason I stopped. And someone said to me, just someone random, like in a cafe in Spain, "Why don't you sing to her to calm her down?" And even me, who knew the power of that skill, it hadn't even dawned on me that I could use it to address that very natural, very normal, very traditional little challenge. So anyway, so even though we know this is true, that it's powerful for all sorts of reasons, intellectual, visceral, many reasons, we forget to value it in a way that's helpful, like central government funding. Yeah? Or just changing the policy, you know, in a school context. And so I'm going to introduce you to a student called Masunu. And Masunu has given me permission to talk about his journey. And he is really very special because he's overcome enormous challenge to be able to do something that our children might find more straightforward. In my first year at uni, I found immense hurdles to overcome. But Masunu was just, you know, as you say, he wasn't at zero. He had so much area to cover before he could even start from zero. And so he is an enormous inspiration to us, and his experience has helped us understand what is really needed. And what is needed is investment in the early years. So I'm going to share his story now. In 2013, there was a spate of suicides, cluster suicides in Hawke's Bay, and we recognised that teenagers were, for whatever reason, they didn't have access to experiences which would arm them with strategies to develop self-reliance. And whilst opera might not be a natural, obvious choice for delivering something like this, the reality is that as an artist, you know, you have an experience to collaborate with people in a really meaningful and transformative way.
Come away, trouble sailors, come away, the orange is being away.
So in that context, we set about establishing the Prima Volta Charitable Trust and Festival Opera alongside.
Before I joined PPV, I was heading downhill because I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. Throughout high school, we were constantly losing our home.
By choosing young people to come into our program and by supporting them to develop the ability to sing operatically, we're investing in kids and identifying them for a positive reason.
Stop trying to kiss me.
Yeah, for me, PPV was definitely escape from the struggle that I was going through. I found it just a safe place for me.
We support them by helping them understand what you need in place to learn.
Yeah, it's impacted on my other academic subjects. Exams have become much easier.
So Feversham Primary Academy is a little school in Bradford, not far from London. We became aware of this school when I read a Guardian article about the success that they had enjoyed as a result of adopting a music pedagogy. And this music pedagogy was the Kodály method. So the school 5 years ago was in special measures. It was facing the threat of being closed down. The school is now in the top 2% for student progress in the UK. And provides all of us globally with a really strong piece of evidence that music education in schools can improve literacy, can improve numeracy, can impact on a child's mental health. In order to determine exactly what it is that children need and how the Kodály method could be serving children in Hawke's Bay, we've identified 4 local primary schools that we'd like to work with. Our intention is to essentially tentpole the existing projects and experiences that we currently deliver for primary age students. A really thorough, comprehensive music education that is focused on identifying that child's voice and affirming it is our opportunity here to innovate truly and provide an example to the rest of the world of what major investment can achieve.
Back to hell again. We kiss and we make up our way. I know I misbehaved and we made our mistakes and we
So if I lead with that, I have trouble composing myself, which makes it quite tricky. Here's that headline again about the music and loads of it. Lashings of music at school, in this primary school in Bradford. And we went over and visited them, as I noted, and the inspiring thing is that these kids are learning a language. They're learning a language, and so when we speak about culture and identity and language, it's not a question of ethnicity in this case. It's a question of that kid's soul. So when we took those words Project Prima Volta, Finding Voices Shaping Futures, you know, the voice is such a unique part of your identity. I obviously feel very, very intimately acquainted with that idea. But to empower a child to learn how to use their voice is giving them autonomy, you know, especially when we're working as we are now with tamariki who actually don't have any autonomy in their lives. And so a lot of decisions are made for them or by default. And so, for us, it gives us an immense sense of satisfaction that we see these enormous results and the self-reliance and the confidence and the kids turning up to practice at, you know, a local school that we're working at, and walking in and being annoyed, and the choir director saying, you know, well, are you okay? Are you okay? And them saying, no, I just want to sing. That's a strategy, you know, and for that child to understand what they need in that moment to transform the way they feel it just means that, you know, I think we've taken away something fundamental, a fundamental right, you know, and it's a global trend, but it's something that, you know, we need to, in my view, work a little bit harder to be noisy about. This is Catherine Winitana, who's a PPV graduate, and she's an extraordinary person. She's just quietly part of my succession plan. Yeah. This is a little bit about our organisation, because historically we've had enormous challenges trying to help people understand what it is we do, you know, how all the parts fit together, because it's quite huge and sprawling. An opera company, you know, a music program. Now you're piloting CULTIVATE method in local schools in Hawke's Bay. What are you? Who are you? Split personality a little bit. So we have these two organisations. One of them puts on opera, and we have these two platforms where we have the high stakes kind of presentations that we involve Project Prima Volta students in. We have a Project Prima Volta program, the weekly program, which involves 30 high school students each year. And we have PPV Lab, which is where we run projects that actually link in with PPV so that we can sort of take advantage of that opportunity for good role modelling, etc. We run teacher training in this method, in CULTIVATE method, and we also are running a pilot at these two schools. So how can music impact a young person's life? Has anyone got any examples? Can anybody think about who learnt the recorder? You know, it's actually very common, you know, learning the recorder. My action results in learning basic music. It's all symbols, you know, it's supporting literacy and numeracy. Music can help support those key competencies that we're all focused on, especially at primary level. Here's a little something fun. It's going to start in a minute. It's a scene from one of our operas, and it features some Project Prima Volta students. I think they sound just like the professional student. 17, 16. Professional. Singing in French. I know you want to enjoy it, but it's a longish track. There's a part that's fiendishly difficult. And I'll tell you when it happens, and they never lose time. Good timekeeping, accountability. You make a mistake, people can hear it. You get comfortable making mistakes. Ready? Changing tempo. Here. So the scaffolding there for them to stand up and do that is this. They've got the conductor in the pit there. And they're all standing together. So their likelihood of being able to match each other's tempo is much stronger than if they're spread out across the stage. And these are all sort of, that's scaffolding to ensure that they can have a successful experience up there on stage. Well, I know what my life would be without music. It'd be quiet. It'd be very quiet. But it would be joyless. And if you think about a scary movie and think about how your emotions are managed through that experience by music, it really is a tool to conduct our emotions throughout our lives. I'm just wanting you to reflect on that personally if you can. This is Tōmairangi Henare. He's now studying at Victoria University and Rupert McKnight as well. They were both with us last year. And Tōmairangi is coming back and being a PPV graduate mentor, so he'll be taking on responsibilities in the opera company and leading the children's chorus and supporting us with running some artist sponsorship events in a nice circular model. A little request, a little ask, which doesn't seem fair. And also was made aware, I should have been more aware of this, given the calibre of the speakers, but not myself, obviously. But I should have been aware that this would be, not just a local audience. Not that locals don't know what they're doing, but we really need locals to support what we're doing. But we'd love the rest of the national community to be supporting what we're doing by just keeping updated. I'm not going to hand out leaflets or flyers or any other information, but you can find us on Facebook and Festival Opera as well. And you can talk to us about what we do, where we've found challenges and success, and we've undertaken some research and will continue to. If you want any information from me, I love to talk. And I'm going to finish with a little song for you, which is a great example of that trait. So it's a Spanish little song. It's very short. And the text goes, "Give me my love, kisses without counting. Ha sido de mis cabellos, just like all the hair on my head, Y 1100 tras ellos, y tras ellos 1100. And then 1001, and then between those, another 1001. Okay, so it's just a little segment. And the reason I like it, obviously I've got a Spanish husband. Well, it's not obvious, but it's true. And I note the heels. He is substantially shorter than me, but I can call myself a trophy bride in that way. The heels. Yeah. So the reason it's funny, and this little piece relates to me, and I like to sing it so that you understand who I am, is because it's like, you just want them to kiss you. You don't need to use all of that wording, and 1001 and then 1001 in between there, and then count back. That's just stupid, But we know facts. We know we could just say, just kiss me endlessly. Or we can make art. And then we can sing about it. Extrapolate on this very simple fact. We all get the fact, but we need to receive the art. So here it is. 47 seconds. Okay, it's just a snippet. Dame amor besos sin cuento, ha sido de mis cabellos, y me siento tras ellos, y tras ellos me siento, y después cantemos al revés. ¡Olé!